Hey, what's up gang? Today we're going to be talking about SNOT, or studs not on top, and I'm going to show you how we can make some great little vehicles and buildings by using some simple techniques. But first, a word from the famous playwright Sir Alan Bennett. Mum sat us down with a pot of tea, as I cast my mind back to Dudley and Peter, Peter and Dudley. If only they could come back and smack that subscribe button. But I don't suppose they will they? No, of course they won't, but you can, boys and girls. Why not smack that subscribe button right now? You know you want to. Yes, that's right, gang. I've already displayed in previous programmes my lovely 1960s VW camper van, and as we've mentioned before, this was made very simply from an existing Lego Creator set, number 31079. And what I did there was change this rather boring frontage of the van to the classic VW logo at the front there. Also, of course, we made it into 6 studs wide, which is the only proper scale for minifigs, to be honest. So if I take off the front part, we can see how I very cleverly created this nice classic VW shape. First of all, we've got the sort of wedge-shaped plates there to give that sort of classic V shape that VW vans have. We've put the very large headlights on, again to give it that sort of VW Beetle sort of feel. And of course, most importantly of all, we've put the round plate on there with the VW sign, which I printed and made myself and stuck on there. So all in all, if we have a look at the back of it, it's very simple how it's been put together. And that little SNOT arrangement fits very neatly onto the studs that we've got there. Now, Lego of course make a wide variety now of brackets and bricks with studs sticking out of the side. They're actually really useful for making vehicles and also buildings where you need things to be put on sideways rather than just up or down. To give you an example, this little brick here, this bracket, I found really useful when I reverse engineered this classic 2CV car. I often see models on the internet which I then kind of reverse engineer by working out how they've been built and sort of basically build them from scratch myself. This particular one, I couldn't figure out how they got the frontage on there, and it took me ages to work out that what actually happened is they used the bracket kind of upside down like this. So as you can see, just the 2 studs of the brackets are pointing frontwards, and I'll just put the frontage parts on just to show you how that works. So there was a nice engine grille here. If I can get this on. There we go. And then there were a couple of sort of 1 stud cheese slopes basically put on either side. It's a bit fiddly to do it in front of the camera. There we go. So once the 2 cheese slopes and the grille are on the front there, that looks really effective, and it kind of evokes the shape of that lovely 1960s 2CV. And last time we saw how with my ice cream van I used a couple of these really useful, I don't know what you call them, modified plates or modified bricks, a couple of them side by side to give those row of 4 studs there, and then with that we can just put on that lovely engine compartment, which has got the nice sort of grille shape at the front and the sort of curved bricks to give it a nice sort of streamlined effect at the front. Now, I've mentioned before a thing called systematic inventive thinking, or SIT, where basically you think inside the box and take an existing idea just tweak it a little bit to make something different. So to give you an example, a few months ago I made this lovely post office Royal Mail delivery van, which again I basically copied off the internet, tweaked it very slightly, but the front took me ages to reverse engineer. But once I got the idea of using the studs sticking out there, this was a particular bracket I used, I thought, well, I can do a similar thing for other vehicles. I particularly enjoyed this sort of light bluish grey sort of engine grille that's basically made from a couple of sort of stepped wedges and a sort of curved plate there. So I thought I'll do a similar thing with my Lego fire engine. So what I did basically was just again put some studs sticking out there at the front, made a similar sort of shape, slightly different actually, slightly different shaped engine compartment. I don't like to do things completely the same if we can avoid it. What I also managed to do recently is I've put a sort of backward facing sloped brick, inverted brick in there. So that makes a nice covering for the sort of wheel arches there, so there's no gap between the bricks and the wheel arches. But the main thing is we've got this lovely frontage on the fire engine, which gives it that really nice sort of 1950s look with the engine grille there, using sloped curved bricks to give that nice curved effect at the front. I think that's a really nice little fire engine actually. And on the topic of systematic inventive thinking, I made this post office van, which I basically copied from the internet, but when I realised that these doors work really well at the back, these sort of hinge effects with the doors, I used exactly the same technique on some of my other delivery vehicles. For example, the one we made last time, it's got this nice set of opening doors there, which I've done in sort of black, red and white effects on that one. Exactly the same thing on the ambulance, which also contains a slightly distressed patient in there. It's using the same technique basically, including these nice little sort of modified bricks as the door handles, but all three of these vehicles use exactly the same technique for the doors at the back. Now another good example of studs not on top is this really complex little car here, which I made as a 1960s police panda car. It was originally in black when I saw it on the internet, but I copied the shape of the car pretty much, just changed the colour scheme to make it into a police car. But as you can see, some of these bricks are entirely kind of pointing sideways basically, which is a really clever technique. And it makes for a very interesting set of shapes with the car there. This is a sort of an old Ford Anglia basically. And then finally we can show the same technique actually used on buildings as well. These three buildings here, I shamelessly copied them from the internet. This one in particular, this bicycle shop, has got some really nice sort of external tiling on the front, because with buildings I find it's all about giving them depth and texture on the outside. That's what makes building a sort of grown-up adult type of Lego model different from the children's Lego. I mean, kids would basically build a smooth you know, brick model there, whereas when you're going into the more advanced techniques, you need to give it some depth by using jumper plates to put the windows sort of half a brick inset into the building, using techniques like these curved bricks. And in this one in particular, notice we've got some tiles kind of stuck on the outside. If I can just take one off there to show you. There's obviously a sort of lamp brick there with the stud sticking out the side, where we've just sort of stuck all these tiles onto these type of bricks, and it gives it a really nice kind of depth of field there, so it looks like you've got a tile or a brick with the sort of cement underneath it there, which I think is a very clever technique. Well, that brings us to the end of the show, gang. Some of you in the chat down there have been saying that the Brickstead looks a little bit depleted at the moment. The reason being is that some of the models are upstairs at the moment. Because believe it or not, this room where I do the filming is actually our family dining room. As it happens, we're actually having a big family dinner tonight, so I've had to move some of the stuff upstairs, and I'm going to have to take all of these models up there in a few minutes when I've finished filming. Unfortunately, I don't have a sort of permanent Lego studio at the moment in the house because all the rooms are kind of full up. But I will bring the models down hopefully for the next show, and we'll set them out like we did last time, and have a really good look around Brickstead and look at some of the new developments that we've made. So for the time being, I'll say live long and prosper, and see you all next time.